So, Scott Peterson murdered his pregnant wife. Lawrence Bittaker killed 5 teenage girls in the late 1970s. Randy Stephen Kraft raped, tortured, and murdered a minimum of 16 young men in the 1970s to the 1980s. These are the type of people who are on death row, awaiting to be put to death by capital punishment. Capital punishment, or better known as death penalty, is a legal process whereby a person is put to death by the state as a punishment for their crime. As of right now, capital punishment is legal and carried out in 32 of the 50 states here in America, including California. The proposition that I am going to argue is that capital punishment has a positive effect in the United States today. My 3 secondary claims for the proposition is that capital punishment is used as a deterrent to prevent harsh crimes. It positively affects the public and allows the prison system to be more effective. My first claim is that capital punishment deters individuals from committing harsh or severe crimes. And to prove this, I pulled out the general deterrence theory, which states that people fear breaking the law because they fear the consequences that come with breaking the law. And Dr. Valerie Wright, in her Deterrence in Criminal Justice publication, wrote that the severity of punishment may influence behavior if potential offenders weigh the consequences of their actions and conclude that the risks of the punishment are too severe. This basically states that capital punishment deters crimes because the risk of being put to death extremely outweighs the cost of committing the crime. Which leads me to my next minor claim, which is, as the number of executions increase through the capital punishment, the number of murders decrease. And Dr. Michael Summers from Pepperdine University carried out a 26-year study ranging from 1979 to 2004 and came to the conclusion that throughout the 1990s, our society increased the number of executions and saw the number of murders decrease. He also found that since 2001, there has been a decline in executions and an increase in murders. So when executions drop, the deterrence factor lessens and results in less fear, which could result in more murders. The secondary claim that I have is capital punishment positively affects the general public. It provides closure to the families of the victims. A survey conducted by Frank Zimring from UC Berkeley found that 60% of the participants agreed either strongly or somewhat that capital punishment brought closure to homicide families. My next minor claim is that capital punishment costs less taxpayer money compared to prisoners with life without parole sentences. Opponents say that death penalty costs more. Indeed it does, but only in the short term. Dudley Sharp from Justice for All found that there appears to be no question that over time, equivalent life without parole cases are much more expensive, from $1.2 to $3.6 million. In the end, we as the general public pour more money to house prisoners for life than the death penalty itself. My next minor claim for this secondary claim is that with each execution, several innocent lives are saved. Kenneth Land from Duke University carried out an 11-year-long study and found that in the first and fourth months that followed an execution in Texas led to about 2.5 fewer homicides. So basically, it's a ratio of every 1 person that died, we saved 2.5 people. Which leads me to my third secondary point, which is capital punishment allows the prison system to be more effective. It allows the prison system to be more effective because it provides safety for prison guards and other prisoners through proper monitoring techniques. A specific incident that happened in South Dakota State Penitentiary was Correctional Officer Ronald Johnson was killed by 2 non-death row inmates inside the penitentiary. And if they were both death row inmates, they would have been monitored much more intensely, and this incident could have been avoided, which could have led to Officer Ronald Johnson being alive today. And another minor claim is that prison guards can focus on helping other prisoners fit into society. When prison guards have the security of safety, they can help further rehabilitate the prisoners and have them better fit into social life when they get released into society, back into society. And Robert Roberts from Project Return of Louisiana stated, "What do we want them to do when they get out of prison? We'd like them to have respect and compassion for others and respect the law." So therefore, capital punishment prevents or deters crime through fear, along with positively affecting the public through closure, less taxes, and less homicides. And lastly, it allows the prison system to be more effective through safety. And that is why capital punishment is beneficial for the United States.
All right, well, the proposition's clearly stated. There's a preview, although you rush through that preview, and that becomes a problem because in the body of the speech, I swear you had 4 supporting points, and then you went to a 3rd supporting point. That was really confusing. So there's probably too much substructure on one of your points, and you need to simplify things. Also, I thought that I got the deterrence issue in 2 completely distinct places, and that should all be put together into that one single point. So the structure of the speech was, I think, problematic, and as a consequence, it created more confusion than necessary. The last section, where you're talking about rehabilitation of prisoners and why that would be advantageous, I think is confusing because I don't really think that your argument is that they're talking about rehabilitating these death row prisoners. It's really the way that the prison guards would be able to respond to other prisoners if they don't have to worry about the death row inmates. And that feels like a stretch, and it's not a very clear stretch that you're making there. Your proof on the cost issues needs to be developed a lot more. There's a lot of information on this on both sides of the argument, and it just feels a little bit underdone in your presentation. The main problem, I think, with the presentation is that you're rushing these points and that you have too many points that you're developing. You need to kind of simplify and focus on those points. I think you've got the right idea. The death penalty deters crime. It creates a benefit to society by creating closure, and it increases the safety of officers working within the prison system. Those should be the points that you're working on. All right, thank you.